So public education is a big part of our mandate. We're a 501c3. It's really the major component of what we do. We also do what we call facilitation. When a deal is being developed, we try to work at times, if we're asked, with county officials, with the developer, and with the surrounding neighbors, to kind of troubleshoot. We are not a provider. We do not make money off of housing. So we can step in and try to bring people to the table, talk through what some of the issues are, suggest to the housing provider, maybe you could take it down a floor. Tell the community if they take it down 3 floors, they can't put the affordable housing unit part in, and so on. So we do that.
We recognize the importance of bringing the power makers, the power brokers together to include city council members, along with the developers and the builders and the mortgage people, to bring them to the same table with the advocates so that we could begin to have a strong dialogue between us and amongst us in terms of what our common concerns were. And so that started a little over 3 years ago, and along with the push from the community organizing group and the many churches and the community people being involved, we then formed this table to also be out there in terms of taking a position on workforce housing. And as it turned out, we were able to come to a compromise and also to endorse this new workforce housing zoning change and policy and program with the endorsement of all of those people at the table.
You know, we've been really excited about the public awareness piece of what we've been doing as we try to get all the stakeholders to the table. As Tim indicated, you know, the round table started with just bringing folks to the table and the public awareness around the issues of creative density as well as what safe, affordable communities ought to look like. Arlington gave us some great models when we took bus trips up there with you know, stakeholders and policy decision makers, and Potomac Yard has a very innovative and creative idea, the only in its nation from what we've understood. The other one exists in London, where a firehouse, their new firehouse, has affordable units all on top of it, which was a very exciting trip. And we actually have a firehouse that's going to be built here in Virginia Beach that's being relocated into the big urban center, town center here, that we're hoping that may be a project that we get to model. So the round table is helping to have those kinds of discussions and make sure that the decision makers are at the table as we, you know, move into new and different economic times and try to create something that is just more healthy for the whole community.
Now that the policy is in place and it is embedded in the 5-year plan, we don't need to put all of our effort into that. What we do need to do is put our effort into helping to bring developers and bankers and people sincerely interested in these kinds of developments and bring them to the table and help to be a catalyst for them to put a proposal on the table and to encourage them to fully use, you know, the policy that's there.
The neighborhood has come to us to help them. We now have had 2 continuances where they've, you know, put off the decision while we bring folks to the table to hopefully mediate a better transition so that families are not going to fall into homelessness.
We had the 8th annual Lucky Forum back in October, and it was specifically targeted at looking at how to increase local revenues for affordable housing. And I think the highlight of there were 2 highlights in my opinion. The first was AHS commissioned a survey report that was done by the International County City Management Association. It was actually done under the direction of Ron Carlee, the old county manager in Arlington. And they surveyed a group of communities that were as close as we could get to being similar to Arlington. There's no, you know, one-for-one comparison. And looked at their practices with regard to affordable housing. How did they raise money? How did they use money? To try to develop a case study for future reference for AHS, for policymakers and other advocates. How can we get more money for affordable housing? Because as I said, more money is really the bottom line. So that was a highlight. And the other highlight was a presentation by a woman named Adrienne Quinn. who's with Enterprise Community Partners in Washington, D.C. But a few years ago, she was out in Seattle and was one of the chief architects of a very successful public education and public vote to increase affordable housing revenues locally, where citizens effectively taxed themselves to provide more affordable housing. And she gave a pretty fabulous presentation, but explained really the hard work of a true public campaign to raise awareness and raise support for affordable housing.